please pray for Wolverine. What is up, guys? I'm here to review X-Men 97 Episode 9, Tolerance is Extinction Part 2. Now, DeMeo has been saying Episode 8, 9, and 10 were like the big finale of this season, and so far he's been telling the truth, because just like every other episode from this season, this one's also a banger. I will say this episode in particular, this is more of a return to status quo, because here we have seen Charles Xavier and his crew fighting against Magneto, just like the old series. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing if you want to return to the status quo? I guess that's for you guys to determine, but me personally, I find it refreshing, even though we've seen it before. I mean, who doesn't like seeing Charles and Magneto go at it? Like, I always get a kick at watching that. Alright, so let's go over the episode.
Alright, so we started this episode at the mansion. As you guys remember, it was burnt down. Here we see Charles Xavier preparing for battle. And here we also see Magneto preparing for battle. So as you can see, he has his old costume back. We even have a scene of Bastion carrying his Sentinel mom. As you guys remember, Magneto did like an EMP wave over so all the human Sentinels were shut down. Now this was a nice touch. It shows that even though Bastion does communicate with machines, he does have some human emotions with him. Now we go back to the mansion and Charles explains the reason why he gave Magneto leadership of the X-Men. He basically says the reason why he made Magneto leader of the X-Men was to relieve burden from Jean Grey as well as Cyclops, and how he just wants them to live. Now we know how that turned out, right? Later on, we see all of the X-Men reunite, and they decide to break up into two teams. One team goes against Magneto, and the other team goes against Bastion. And what do they call these teams? The Blue and Gold team, just like the comics. I thought that was a great touch right there. Especially with Cyclops leading one team while Jean and Storm lead the other ones, just like in the comic books. Now later on, we see Magneto descending along with Asteroid M, and he has some choice words for Charles and his team. Magneto basically told his X-Men if he wants to be on his side, then do it. Charles tries to talk him out of it, but he wouldn't listen. And what makes this even worse for Charles is the fact that Rogue and Sunspot joined up with Magneto. After all that transpired, we then head to Muir Island. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is the second base for the X-Men. And as the team is preparing, we see Scott and Cable having a heart-to-heart moment, which is pretty cool to see. And I gotta say, after seeing this, I hope he has the same moment with Havoc and the rest of his family. But going back to Cable, we get a cool moment right here. Here we see Scott giving Cable this costume right here. Now, if you're an X-Men video game fan, you know exactly what this costume is, because this is the exact same suit that Cable wore in Marvel vs. Capcom. But it's not just Cable who got a new suit. All of the X-Men got new suits, and they are actually retro. Of course, the ones that stand out are Wolverine's brown and yellow, as well as Storm's new costume that she got last episode. Of course, Cyclops and Jean Grey went retro as well. Here we see Jean Grey having the Marvel Girl look, and Cyclops has a classic look as well. But going back to these costumes, I'm sure you guys recognize these, because these are the John Byrne costumes from way before the Jim Lee era. If you guys saw that X-Men OVA prior to the X-Men, that's where these costumes came from. Now, me personally, I don't see the point of doing these costumes. Like, I just don't get it. I feel like the writers and animators did this just to get a cheap pop from the audience. But I didn't really see any reason to change the costumes. Because the Jim Lee costumes are so synonymous with the X-Men, especially the animated version, so I don't see why they did this in the first place. And plus, this is called X-Men 97, so why go back even further for those costumes in this series? It doesn't make any sense. Now, don't get me wrong, this is nice to see, especially in this animation, but I really hope in Season 2 they go back to the original Jim Lee costumes, because like we are so accustomed to those. But alas, here's the costumes, and the team is split up into Blue Team and Gold Team. One team goes after Magneto, the other team goes after Bastion. So Gold Team, led by Jean Grey and Storm, were off to find Bastion, and what do you know, the Sentinels were there to welcome them. And I gotta say, there are some pretty cool moments here in this fight. Like we see Cable in his Marvel vs. Capcom suit in action. And of course, we gotta talk about Morph carrying the X-Men cameos in this season, and who does he turn into this time? He transforms into the Hulk. I was not expecting that. Meanwhile, we see Jean Grey fighting Sinister, and you know there's history between these two, so this was going to be a good fight right here. Now, while Gold Team is trying to fight Bastion and the Sentinels, the Blue Team were off to fight Magneto and try to stop him from waging war. Charles does his best to plead with them, but Magneto was like, heck no, let's get it on. And from there, lines were drawn. We even see Rogue fighting for Magneto against Wolverine and the others. We even saw Sunspot fighting against Jubilee as well. Now, when we check in with Gold Team, we see that Sinister is now controlling Cable, and he's attacking Jean Grey now. Jean tries her best to stop him, but so far it's not working. Now we see Scott being presented there at a psychic link, and we see Jean Grey seemingly passing away from the blast. Now I personally don't think she's dead, but we'll see what the next episode brings. Now back to the B team. It seems that the team has finally got an upper hand against Magneto. They thought they were able to control him, but it didn't work, and instead Magneto got the upper hand against Charles by putting metal all around him. But then we finally get a cool moment from Wolverine, and I've been asking for this for the longest. Wolverine put his claws through Magneto, and it is so bloody. This was probably like the Wolverine moment we've all been waiting for since this whole season. But unfortunately, we got a moment we did not want, and I never thought we would see this. Magneto actually ripped the metal out of him. Now, I knew in the comics Magneto did this, but the fact that I saw this in animated form is like really brutal. I never thought I would see Wolverine's metal being ripped out by Magneto. I never thought I would see that at all. But the fact we got that was just mind-blowing. Now, this is how the episode ends, but we got a lot more questions after this episode. Now, a lot of people assume that we're going to get Onslaught for the Season 2 villain. And as for Wolverine in general, it seems that they're going to go the feral Wolverine route. Now, they could change some things, who knows, but maybe there is an Age of Apocalypse storyline in the pipeline, but most people are saying this is Onslaught that's going to happen.
Now, overall, I thought this was a great episode, and I definitely can't wait to see how the finale shapes up for next week. I am cautious, though, because I know people have been saying, like, when they do, like, the Onslaught storyline, even Age of Apocalypse, that's when, like, X-Men kind of tanked for them in the 90s. But we'll see how that turns out. But I think Disney has proven when it comes to this franchise in particular with their X-Men 97 series, I think they can do a good job with it. So who knows? If some people don't like the Onslaught storyline, maybe they can improve upon it on this series. But overall, I definitely can't wait to see how episode 10 shapes up. And please keep Wolverine alive. But tell me, what do you guys think of this episode? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, make sure to give this a like and give me a follow.